Since he took office, President Javier Milei has eliminated institutions and ministries, as well as changed the names of the Kirchner Cultural Center and the Women's Hall in the Casa Rosada. Venezuela's Attorney General Tarek Saab denounced on Monday the media campaigns carried out against democracy in the country linked to the events that occurred after the presidential elections that were held on July this year. The official described the campaigns as mercenary attempts to discredit the Venezuelan democratic system and its justice system in the face of the actions of criminal groups promoted by the so-called comanditos and the extreme right wing. Saab also detailed that the violence registered after July 28, 2024, left 28 dead and thousands of wounded, as well as 486 properties destroyed.
Frente a los lamentables, delictivos, criminales sucesos ocurridos.
In the face of the unfortunate, nefarious and criminal events that occurred as of July 28th, particularly on July 29th and 30th, which unleashed a wave of violence that killed and injured many people and which led to the total destruction of schools, mayor's offices, food warehouses, etc. By whom? By people bearing the national flag to express their ideas in a square. Or by individuals who used bombs and firearms, who together with conventional weapons, used also non-conventional weapons to wickedly kill and injure innocent Venezuelan men and women.
And in this context, the Attorney General of Venezuela, Tarek Saab, also pointed out that those involved in the violent events following the presidential elections held on July 28th were not political prisoners, but criminals who carried out terrorist actions.
It should be recalled that they were supposedly against, let's put it in quotation marks, the electoral results that were transmitted in real time by the only authority that has the legal, juridical, and constitutional capacity to do so in Venezuela and in the world, which is the electoral power. They used that as an excuse to provoke the tragic figure of 28 dead and more than 1,000 wounded. These people are not political prisoners, they are not prisoners of conscience. Unfortunately, they are criminals, who carried out terrorist actions, paid by the so-called comanditos, and this is how we are going to present it in detail. And unleash, that was the objective, they wanted to unleash a civil war in Venezuela.
And in other news, Ecuador's Vice President Veronica Abad denounced on Sunday President Daniel Noboa as the ringleader of an alleged coup d'etat already underway. The Vice President, who has been a delegate to international missions since her election and is currently facing a severe sanction from the Ministry of Labor, addressed the country in the evening hours. She assured that the President, in complicity with some parliamentarians and members of the executive, intended to disqualify her from assuming the presidency when he begins his campaign for re-election. In the words of the Vice President, Noboa, who was her running mate, has already prepared the rupture of the constitutional order in Ecuador.
With the sole purpose of stopping me from assuming the presidency of the Republic when the president and candidate enters into his campaign, in which he has been openly involved since the beginning of his government. Using arguments typical of a dictatorship, President Noboa together with his ministers have prepared, in an organized manner, the rupture of the constitutional order and the evident coup d'état that is being prepared for January 6, 2025, to take the presidential succession and pretend to assure, in this way, his re-election.
The president of our news multi-platform teleSUR, Patricia Villegas, announced the signing of a cooperation agreement with the Chinese news agency Xinhua. During the first media summit of the Global South, teleSUR President Villegas said the newly signed macro cooperation agreement with Xinhua will allow the multi-platform to deepen the already strong relationship with this Chinese media. And in other news, close to 70 countries around the world participate on Monday in the Global South Media and Think Tank Forum held in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The meeting welcomes 350 representatives of 170 organizations, companies, journalists, governments, among others, to address common realities